Alrighty, guys, it is 3:30 this Wednesday, March 18th, and we have a number come out of the Fed, absolutely unchanged. Nothing changed there, and the Fed was evasive as usual, we being data driven, blah blah blah. So not much really going on with that in terms of uh, uh, that's the ring there, lost my train of thought, but so not much of a Uh, Sorry about that. So not much of a surprise in terms of what Powell's going to say. Kind of surprising though. Come on out. Come on, guys. I'll call you later. So you're looking at this right now, the overall reaction. First just back and forth, not much going on, and then a little bit of a momentum here to the downside as it started. He started the press conference. So first reaction was pretty much a dud, nothing much going on with that. And then after that, started getting some weakness. And usually I did really cautious with these initial reactions because if it's going to be volatile but not directional, usually you get wild swings, hard down, hard up. But this, after that the initial reaction, when they couldn't really retrace it back to the mean, yeah, you kind of had the writing on the wall that it's going to be more to the downside. So yeah, that's kind of what they've been trending. Has been not been necessarily a great move to the downside. It's been kind of an in one big run here. And I was in L period when it really took it lower, and then you see it ran it into that support area at the 700, and I did take a trade there. That was red support. You see a L period stall there, and then you have we hit the M period switch to noon. And I clicked in an order right there at the half-hour shift. And why do I do that? Because more than often you have at least a reaction. If you're wrong on that trade, LM shift, you'll be run over right away. It's going to be a very quick trade. But more than often, at support, when you have a move like that, you get some sort of a snapback. So I got in there right at the low, and I got out when they started taking out the high of that bar. I wasn't expecting a big trade out of that because usually you get the rotation up, and take it a little bit higher, and then they rotate back down again. These guys took it quite a bit higher though. So yeah, I left a little bit of money on the table, but you just don't know how much you're going to get out of the trade. So I just took a little bit out of it. And then you can see a short against the tablet here would have been a great trade for not to reach on that low. But after I took that trade, I figured I was done for the day. Not going to be cuter than that about it. So I'm up $33 now, three trades on the ES. The first two trades was earlier today. One was a shakeout, one was a small profit, and the other one was a shakeout. That was these trades over here. The one happened over here early on in the morning. That was this trade, a short trade against the highs, and I got checking out of that trade with $10 or so. This trade was a break even shakeout trade as well. Didn't get much out of that, and then of course after not doing anything after that until we got here to this move. And I was looking for direction, but I missed the move to the downside. It happened a bit too fast, and given the volatility, it's hard to say when the move really starts. So you don't want to chase it. Once you start missing it, you don't want to chase it because you never know when it's going to stall and reverse back in your face. So uh, LM shift at support usually was a pretty good support. I had a few things going for me there, and that worked out. Now we'll see. They're done at support again at 66.88 or 85, I should say. They're right there at the upper end of that support area, stalling right now. And this could be another long potential setup. If you buy the low here, potential rotation up. And if you're wrong, you'll be us taken out pretty quick. So that's the beauty of being at the edge like that. Because if they take it lower, you can just get out of it pretty quick, and you don't have to be sitting in a big trade. I would not be selling the rotation up right now. At least it's stalling, and it's hard to say if they're going to try to take this a lot lower or not. But definitely a weak reaction on the news, and we'll see how far they want to take it to the downside. So I would start off the overnight with the bias to the downside. Given what these guys have been doing, they're taking out that support area now at 715. They're taking that out down in this lower support area, and they're heading down towards the 6630. So we are right now leaning towards the short side. So I would favor the short side, but how to get short on this is not easy. So Yeah, you don't want to sell into this right now because you're running right into the support area, so that would be a bad move. If they start taking out the 80s, yeah, maybe try a short trade there and see if they gonna how far they want to take it. But it's been sloppy. It hasn't been like a straight shot or nothing. It's been a couple of big moves and then just kind of stalling, and that leaves you kind of twisting in the wind a bit, you know. It's not easy to trade that at all. Because I mean, if you notice that on this reaction on the pullback right here, if you try to get short aggressively, you had to fade at least it was like 10 points of heat before the reversed, and you don't want to be stuck in that. So when you have this volatility going on, selling that high on the pullback, you trying to get short, it can get you caught in a pretty shitty move. Especially because they have algos running it back and forth. So they know when you start moving high like that, there are going to be people trying to get short, and they can run it quite a bit higher to knock those guys out if they want to. Right now, we're kind of in a holding pattern. I would expect them to take it lower. Right now, I'm not seeing a retracement, a hard retracement in end period. So I would expect them to take it lower, but there could be a little pop here before they do that. So I'm starting from the short side. If they get up above these two single prints, above the 67.15 again, we start off range bound. But as long as they stay below that one, I'm going to start with a bias to the downside. So 3 trades today, up 33 bucks on the ES. No trades on the Nasdaq. They've been too sloppy, too volatile. It's trying not to be too cute about it because if you're in on the Nasdaq, you get whipped around quite a bit, and if you get whipped around quite a couple of times, you're in a hole quite a bit. So we'll see. The Nasdaq, same story there. They're down at support. They stalled there pretty good. That was a nice potential trade there as well, right at support. And if they take out the lows now, they're already traded quite at the low end of this. So if they start taking this below the 2700s or 24,700s, could be a nice short trade setting up. But this guy, the Nasdaq had a nice rotation back up to the tablet. So this would be an area. The tablet is a good pullback area. Start a short position right there. Same story here with the ES. You can see how well that works in the bigger picture here. It is volatile though. So I mean, if you're looking at these bars, this bars is like 720 up to 740. So they're 20-point bars, which is like 80 tick, like 80 ticks. So that's my stop size. So yeah, you had to be kind of right on it and be willing to fade a little bit of heat. But if they keep running against it, I wouldn't mess with my stop at this point. If I miss it that much, I would just be out of it. So there you go. Let's see if they're going to take it lower. Looks like ES is trying. It's fine. Both ES and NASDAQ looks like they're setting up for a landed leg lower. Let's see if that happens or not. These could also be one of those fake outs when the fake out happens and you see a snapback. But it's not quite that kind of a dynamic going on. We have a Fed number come out. This is a reaction to what Powell said in the Fed number. So if there's institutional selling going on right now based on that number, based on that reaction, you won't see a big snapback in that this algo's running it back and forth. There's just too much volume on the short side for that to work. So anyway, I'm thinking short side right now. I'm thinking it may take it lower. Finding a spot to get short is not as easy as it sounds though. You don't want to sell the low in the ES yet. That's right in support. NASDAQ has taken out support, but they're not quite cleared it yet. You can see that they're just retesting that prior rotation right now. So that's how we get started. The NASDAQ, same story there. If the NASDAQ can get up above this area, on the NASDAQ I'm looking at, they kind of had to get up above that 900s, but they're not going to get there. But on the NASDAQ, the area to pay attention to is going to really be up above this one here. So the midpoint here is 24 900s. We can get up above that one. We would be in good shape. But as you can see in the bigger picture, we haven't quite left the big rotation, so we're not quite in the hole yet on the Nasdaq. But watch this area here, the 600, 650 to 700. That comes out. Yeah, bets are off at that point. So the Nasdaq still holding on pretty good, but it looks to me like the bias is to the downside right now. Bond market, didn't do anything on the bond market. I tried the trade earlier on. We never got filled. That was earlier on here in this rotation down. Since then, I haven't done anything, and you can see they were twisting in the wind until the announcement came out to 2 o'clock. Little pop there, the rotation down, and that was it. So now they're stalling. So nice short setup on the bonds. But you can see here, if you try to get short too aggressively, you would be knocked out in that rotation. So on market, right? That's had to be. It's a lot slower trading, but when it moves, it can move. And if you got short up here against the mean, around about the 24 down to the eights, so that's a good 18 tick. That's a nice move. So 16 ticks is $500 on that one. So that's a good move. But anyway, I would stay on a short shot on the bonds. I would share a short shot on the ES and Nasdaq going into the overnight, at least until unless you see a big hard retracement right into the close, then I may change my bias. But that's kind of how I get started in the overnight. But the ES up, the ES is taking it lower now. Nasdaq is extending to the downside, so I stay on the short side. Alrighty, guys, we'll leave it there. So far on the ES, 3 trades up $33, and that's about it for today. Alrighty, guys. Tomorrow morning, what do we have on tap? We got news. Let me see. We got jobless claims, Philly Fed manufacturing at 8:30, new home sales and business inventories and wholesale inventories at 10. So 8:30 and 10, we have news tomorrow. And that 10-year tips auction as well. So that's what we got going. Alrighty, guys. We'll leave it there, and I'll see you guys back bright and early in the morning. We'll go at this again. Alrighty, guys, later.